So, what has 2016 meant for you and for Paradigm Life as a whole?
Well, 2016 was kind of a crazy year. It was we had a lot going on. So what it meant, I think it was almost. I mean, it was there was a lot of challenges, but it was perfect for what we have in store for 2017. Because I don't think if we didn't go through some of the things we did this year, that 2017 goals would be possible. So I'll kind of get it a little bit more detailed there. So 2016, I changed up the business coaches that we have. I've had business coaches for years. My personality is I always want to know what I'm doing wrong. Like what am I missing? What are my blind spots? How can I improve here? So I would always use kind of a business coach to bounce ideas or help me think different. But so this year, we brought on brand new ones, right? Starting in January or February. And these coaches were actually clients of mine. They knew what the business was. They really understood the processes as well. And they had been part of organizations that are bigger than Paradigm and were incredibly successful. And then stepped away because it was part of a contract deal. And so they offered to come on as business coaches. So that really shifted a lot of things. It helped me understand really some fundamental business things that I really wasn't paying optimal attention to, and one of which was the idea behind culture and how important culture is to a foundation of any company. So I read books on Google and Zappos, and I looked at different trainings and so forth. But they really helped me understand how powerful that component was. So that's what we focused a lot on this year, and we've done a lot. We've taken people out of certain positions. We've let some people go. We shifted our entire marketing strategy from an agency standpoint and a few people, internal to like a full-on internal team, and it's one of the best decisions I've ever made or we've ever made, and they were instrumental in that. But our marketing team is incredible, and just looking at how that all came about, it was a number of things. I don't want to get into really the details, but in the end, I've really discovered that really the backbone of a company is its people, and it's not just the people themselves, but it's how they interact and communicate with one another. And that being the case, we actually were chosen out of several companies to be the beta test for Facebook's new workable workplace. Sorry, Facebook Workplace, which is basically like a Facebook community for a business. It's just basically Facebook, but it's for a business. So we were chosen, and it's pretty new to Paradigm, but because of everything that we created really this year, as far as culture is concerned, is really going to manifest hopefully in that new website that we have through Facebook. So that's a really cool component.
So, you almost did a rebranding, both the public image of Paradigm and internally as well. It's almost like a full blown thing. You changed your logo, you did all kinds of
Yeah, it
stuff.
was kind of like because before I brought on our business coaches, we decided to rebrand probably October, November of the year before, and it was because our brand was, it was really, we hadn't changed it since the beginning, since 2007, and we wanted to do kind of an updated website and e-learning program. So we basically we completely rebranded Paradigm, our logo, colors, fonts, really everything, as well as website. But at the same time, we did kind of rebrand the culture of Paradigm. So it was just this overall totally big shift of a year.
It sounds like a very exciting year and a very scary year all at the same time.
Yeah, but that's like I said in the beginning. Really, these are just some fundamental things that I've realized that a company has to have in order to make any significant type of growth. And so our 2017 plans are really exciting, but there's no way we would have been able to accomplish them or even come up with the goals had it not been for kind of our focus on culture and team this year. But we also had 2016 was we had some really cool opportunities. We participated with Mike Dillard, is a friend of ours with Elevation. He was with Elevation Group before, and he went off and created a really popular podcast, really good podcast too, called The Self-Made Man. And he created a Self-Made Man Society, which is just kind of an educational course, which we were a part of. So he came out earlier this year and did an interview, which is really a blast. And Mike is just an inspiration and a motivation for the entrepreneur that's really in me and a couple other people here. So it's really cool to see what he was doing. Along with that, we did our Cash Flow Wealth Summit for the second year in a row, and our big one. We actually did two this year. So we did the main Cash Flow Wealth Summit, which was really, I think we had like 27 or 28 topics, 32 or 33 presenters, and it was awesome. We had 12,000 people show up. The marketing efforts really paid off, and overall it was a good experience. We had Robert Kiyosaki as our keynote. And a lot of other big names. All of the Rich Dad advisors participated this year, so it was a great experience from a marketing standpoint. And then the second Cash Flow Summit was real estate investment focused. So a lot of the feedback that we got on the June Cash Flow Wealth Summit, the big one that we did, was that the topics were very diverse, ranging from like marketing and podcasting to non-real estate focused, more paper asset focused. And so we had a response that was, listen, we want more kind of real estate investment focused education. So that's where we went out and tried to gather. But I didn't want to go out and do the stereotypical investment focused. What I tried to do is just find some niche areas. We had like that the group that does tiny home manufacturing, just a totally different like genre. So anyway, and Jason Hartman was our keynote. So it was really, the summit specifically focused on real estate was, real estate investment, how you can buy, maybe turnkey properties, and how the demographic shift is creating opportunities in real estate investment. But I also wanted to make it somewhat unique, so it wasn't just the standard real estate investment summit that you go to. But anyway, really exciting. We had a blast doing that one too. But really, that again, it gave us the confidence to do this, client summit, which I'm ecstatic about, because really the first time I discovered that, the platform that we use for the Cash Flow Wealth Summits, I was like, we need to do a client summit. But it's just the timing of it. So that's, we put on the back burner last year, but I'm just stoked out of my mind that we're doing it this year. So that's a great way to, I think, end the year, is doing this client summit. But 2016, what it meant to Paradigm Life. It was just one of those things I think we'll look back on, and the shift will be really significant and powerful, and definitely attest to everything that we're going to do next year and beyond.
So what are the more common challenges that Paradigm Life clients faced in 2016?
So 2016 was an interesting year. I mean, it was monumental, especially this latter part with Donald Trump being elected as president. I think this year it really wasn't different than previous years. I would say really the challenges the majority of our clients face is it's always the fundamentals, and it's more of mainstream versus what actually works. And I still think the draw to Wall Street for a 401k or mutual funds, or the traditional investing strategies, as well as the draw to spend and use credit and really go beyond your means. I think they're still there. And looking at our economy this year, I mean, it was somewhat volatile. I mean, you're starting to see this like disruption of technology, and markets are oscillating. I mean, I was reading a statistic the other day that that I think it was like in 2011, 85% of all trades were done by a computer, right? Not computer meaning like somebody typing trade on on their computer screen, but actual robots automatically doing trades on Wall Street. So and now it's getting up to in the 90%. So you have a lot of changes as far as how markets are reacting to what's not priced in. And I think we have clients that are still putting money into the market, and I understand the draw, I understand the attraction, but really it's the challenges the draw to keep doing what the majority is doing. So I've seen those as challenges. In the end, the spending idea of really understanding your finances and keeping that in check, understanding where your assets and liabilities are, really just having a clarity on where your financial statement is not prevalent among not just clients, but I think everybody. And really understanding the fundamentals is, okay, where am I at cash flow wise? Am I bringing in more than I'm spending? Where am I at net worth wise? Assets and liabilities. Understanding that clarity. There's tools today that are free, that it's easy to track that. So I think the solutions are easy, but in the end, the challenges aren't that much different. It's just really, the fundamentals of, understanding where your money's coming from, where it's going, how it's being invested, and really trying to mitigate maybe the emotional draw that is always there as far as, investing in this stock or this piece of property or this business, and not doing it from a rational standpoint, understanding kind of the mechanics and fundamentals of the specific investment. But I think all of that can be solved just by really understanding the value of a financial statement and ensuring that you're on the right track relative to your goals.
Okay, so speaking of strategies and planning that is atypical, does Paradigm Life provide resources and education that may be outside of the norm, that may provide more depth and more options for people that are looking for something outside of Wall Street?
Yeah, there's several. The first which comes to mind is the podcast. On the podcast, we're always trying to keep up with, what's going on right now. And that's where we try to kind of keep not just clients, but other listeners just abreast of maybe, as you said, the atypical perspective that we always have.
The podcast is called
The Wealth Standard. The Wealth Standard is our podcast,
okay.
And the links are on our website. We're gonna have in the booth for the client summit. All those links will be available to you, so you can go back and listen to past podcasts. But yeah, that's where we try to keep really clients up to speed with the day to day. But we also have done a really good job this year of a consistent blogging. So on our blog, we're always really talking about not just the main. We're looking at the mainstream, but you need to have the contrast to it. So our big theme this year was, understanding both sides of the coin, which is something that Robert Kiyosaki uses a lot to understand really what the true perspective should be, understanding both sides of the argument, and then being on the edge of the coin and really, choosing the pros and forgiving the cons on both sides to come to, the best perspective possible. So, but I would also say, our e-learning site, even though we don't update that necessarily, every month or every week, on our e-learning site, it still goes back to as I said before, the fundamentals of, really where you need to keep that foundation secure. And even though, the oscillation of markets and the economy and society is going to happen, and it's going to happen probably at even a greater velocity in the future, when you do have those fundamentals ingrained, it's kind of a tree in the wind. Your roots are strong. You're not going to blow over.
So we spent a little bit of time on 2016. What's your perspective on the economy for 2017 so far? It seems to me that it's changing almost every day.
It is, and I think that's going to continue to be the case. So I think every day, especially with our society and how quick it's going, the technological advances, the social changes, the demographic shift that's happening, where more and more people are getting older and they're retiring, and you really have you have a new president that who knows what's going to happen there, because it's a non kind of stereotypical politician that is going to be in office and who knows what he's going to be able to accomplish. But I think that's just going to be disruptive by nature. But in the end, I think disruption's good. Disruption always creates opportunity. And so looking at what's going to happen in 2017, you have $20 trillion of debt. You have an aging population. You have maybe an asset bubble in bonds. You have, some housing issues because interest rates are going to be, they are going up right now, probably continue to go up. And if they go up, that is going to affect mortgage rates, which affect monthly payments, and monthly payments is really what people use as the determining factor when buying a house. So if they can afford less on a mortgage, that's going to have an effect on housing prices. So it's anybody's guess, but I would say it is a certainty that it's going to continue to be disruptive. There's technological things like, Elon Musk and self-driving cars, and then you have, some other communication technologies that are occurring in, Africa and some emerging markets. It's crazy, but it's a fascinating time, in my opinion, to be alive, to witness all of this that's going on. But I would caution that with disruption, certain expectations, whether it's markets or investing trends, those sometimes get disruptive. So I would definitely pay attention to really the causing factors to investments, including real estate, and what that's going to mean to rents and purchase prices and so forth. So anyway, I think 2017 is going to be a very interesting and intriguing year. There will definitely be a lot of content for the Wealth Standard podcast. So we'll definitely be covering as up-to-date commentary on topics and trends and what's going on. So I'm excited because it's just going to bring an awesome amount of content to the Wealth Standard Radio.
Now, I know that you are constantly reading something. Not a day goes by that you're not talking about some sort of new idea or philosophy that you picked up in a book somewhere. So what books are you currently reading?
What books am I currently reading? So a couple of books I'm reading Predictably Irrational by Dan Ariely, who is a behavioral economist, and he has done a pretty interesting documentary. And this book is fascinating. It just talks about how irrational human beings are. And the reason I think, looking to why I discovered this book, it was his documentary, but also really this year my focus has been culture and people and behavior. And my behavior is sometimes irrational, and everybody else's. And I think when you really understand what drives people, what motivates people, what makes people make certain decisions over others, then you can definitely understand what I consider a core value, which is the fact that people and relationships are your greatest asset. So with me, I grew up an introvert, and still kind of have that kind of pulls me every once in a while. But I've understood the value of people and culture and groups and relationships more so this year than ever. So I've been trying to get into some books like Predictably Irrational or Mindset, or which is another book by Carol Dweck. Also Traction by Gabriel something, I can't remember his last name. But those are just really books on culture and people and relationships. So that's really helped out. But also earlier this year, I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but I started to just become fascinated with, and we did some podcasts on it, but fascinated with how he was handling, the election. So I read a lot of his books and tried to get an idea of kind of where he was coming from and what his philosophy was. I'd read Art of the Deal, years ago, but went back to that a little bit. And there's a couple more like Act Like a Champion or Be a Champion or something like that. And then also his book with Robert Kiyosaki, which is We Want You to Be Rich. That was a fascinating one as well. So I read some Donald Trump stuff just to kind of get an idea of, and now I think it's more important than ever because, his mentality and philosophy and perspective really is, he's going to try to push some agenda because of that. And that may affect things. So I'm trying to get an idea there just to see where the economy might go under his administration. So I guess the other one is a book. There's a couple books out on the culture of Google, like how Google operates, because Google really treats their employees amazing. And we have some clients that are Google employees, and so it's really cool to see just kind of how, whether it's the food they get or their perks or whatever. But there's a book called Work Rules, which really is fascinating. It was by a guy that used to work in their human resources department. I think he's one of the executives, was one of the executives there, and just discuss kind of the overarching philosophy and why they do certain things and the results that they get from it. But those kind of modern tech companies, first they have, insane amounts of money, so they're able to kind of, experiment with what works, but how they do like employee reviews and how they, just facilitate excitement and energy is fascinating. So I started to read into some of their books recently this year. So
what's on the horizon for you personally in 2017?
Personally, well, I think personal and paradigm is like one and the same. But I get so one thing I've been working on been working on a book for years, and we almost launched it a few years ago, but I just never felt right about it. But a few months ago, kind of got this urge again to look into it and finish it off. So I've been working on that, and so I'm hopeful to get that released in maybe first quarter. That's the goal in 2017, maybe second quarter. But really, I feel what we did a few years ago in preparation wasn't enough, and I do feel that what I've outlined as kind of a vision with the book is definitely going to be. The final product is going to be awesome, so I'm excited for that. But along with that, 2017 we have just some. We're going to continue to do what we've done in the past, just create more content, figure out ways to provide more value to people. The podcast, we're going to revamp the podcast a little bit, and restructure, maybe do some rebranding there and get some guests and other appearances on there. Also, we are going to redo a lot of the website and provide a little bit more of a contextual resources for clients, so calculators and financial statement tools and a few other things. But the other big one is the Cashflow Wealth Summit. So we had a lot of success with the real estate focused summit this past year in October of 2016. So next year we're going to do kind of a tax-focused one previous to tax season, so in the March and April timeframe. And also we're going to do a big event. And I don't want to say anything really about the big event. We have some huge plans there, but I need to have other people buy off on the plan, so I don't want to state anything before I make those proverbial commitments. So anyway, the big event's going to be awesome. But also we have a few client things we're going to do. So we found some resources to create courses that it's a lot easier to get those off the ground without having to do a lot of website development. So we're going to have some courses that focus on our private clients. So our private clients is more of the high net worth individuals. So we did on the summit, we had a couple of presentations that will fall in there, but there's a few other charitable strategies, estate planning strategies, tax strategies that are significant, meant for higher net worth individuals, but still, if you incorporate them, huge value in that realm. So that'll be coming out next year sometime. Also, we have an annuity type of learning that's going to be coming out, because annuities are very big these days just because of market volatility. People are resorting to things that are more guaranteed, but at the same time, in the annuity market, there's like thousands of annuities, and so we're really going to go in and educate people on what they are, how they work, what role do they play, etc. So that's going to be coming out as well. So I guess a final one would be something that I've thought about for a while. We actually wrote a little article on just family finance. We've had webinars on like the family banking system, but we're going to have something more comprehensive. I've been gathering lots of resources, lots of information to launch that off the ground. I do it kind of as like it's more. I don't know. Part of it is me and my family and my kids, and then a lot of people here, they're doing some really cool things with their kids. So we wanted to kind of take a lot of that information and build a course to help other families. And it's like I said, we've done some resources in the past, like one-off resources. This is going to be a more comprehensive like learning program, so that families, whether you're young or even when you're old, we've had a lot of clients that are older, that are thinking about their legacy and thinking about passing on wealth, but they're not sure how to approach their kids. And so we're going to have a section in there that focuses on, okay, how do you educate your kids from a non-arm's length or an arm's length standpoint. So that's going to be coming out as well. At least that's what the plan and the goal is.
How can clients of Paradigm Life keep in the loop as to what's going on day to day, month to month, quarter to quarter?
That's a good question. So, like I've said a few times now, we have our podcast. Subscribe to our podcast, even though you may listen to it every once in a while. Subscribe to the podcast, because we're always announcing new things, talking about new things. Our newsletter will also keep you up to speed. But this year we also launched our private Facebook group. So all clients will be given access to a private closed group, and that's where we're going to be pushing, like, I did our car ebook, like how to make money every time you buy a car, and the calculator associated with that. We launched that first to the client page on Facebook, the private client page. And so I would say, yeah, that group is a great way to get consistent updates from us. Make sure you're on our email list. I mean, we may get annoying every once in a while with some of our content, but again, our objective is more to help you be a better investor, be a better steward of your finances. So, really, we're going to continue to use that medium, announcing our blogs, announcing our content that's coming out, events that we're putting on. So make sure you're on our email list. That's another great way to get a hold of us. And if you have questions there, reach out to your wealth strategist, and they can also kind of keep you up to speed through some of their emails as well. But a lot of cool stuff in 2017, so you're definitely going to want to be in the loop.